Hi, Stephen Green here. Welcome back to the podcast series of the Property Investment Academy. Today, we've actually got two people here with us today. So we've got Mike and Alan, two people who've done elite training with myself. And also what's great about this is Mike is actually my business partner as well. So we actually, one of, certainly when I scaled up and done a larger project, it was something that I thought, right, I've been doing these deals for a lot of years, sort of normal properties, maybe it's HMOs. But when I decided to do this large commercial or residential deal, converting a pub and a hotel into 10 flats, 3 2-bedroom flats and 7 1-bedroom flats, was that I wanted to go in with somebody else and it needed to be somebody that I could trust, somebody that I knew I could rely on. We'd previously bought a property together. We were both in the military together. So it made sense that we teamed up on this particular project. So welcome to the podcast today, Mike and Alan. So Mike, how are you today?
Yeah, very well, thanks. Good drive down, so that's always good. Yeah, ready to go.
Good. How's things?
Well, all right. I just got ripped into this big time, didn't I? So
you did, yeah. The interview was going to be with Mike, and the fact that they're both from Birkenhead, Liverpool area, so he brought Alan down with him, and the fact Alan's done the training, I said, well, you may as well share a few nuggets as well, because Al's got interesting story as well to share. So just thought we'd throw them both in the mix today. So let's start with you, Mike. Tell us a little bit about who's Mike, where do you come from, and a little bit about your childhood. Share that with us, please.
So I'm Mike Warrallo. I'm 34, 35 next year. I've got 2 girls, Heidi and Poppy. They are, Poppy's 5, Heidi's 9. I've got a partner, Becky. We live on the Wirral. My working life, I met yourself in the army. From there I became a gas fitter. After that I went to work offshore. Started off initially as a commercial diver, and then I've slowly moved across into all aspects of the renewable industry, from rigging to rope access work. I'm just finishing up my last contract now on the renewable side, and I'm moving across to finance.
Brilliant. And you two, how far do you go back? Share that with us, Al. How far do you two go back now?
I think it's got to be about over 20 years, something
Is
like
it?
that.
Yeah, over 20 years.
Definitely, but the time just flies now. I'm getting older all the time, you know. Don't realise I'm nearly 40 now.
That's it. Creeps up, mate, doesn't it?
Yeah, so yeah, it's a good 20 years, definitely.
Can you just share a little bit about yourself as well? Who are you? Who's Alan? Give us a little bit about your background.
Pretty much the same as Mike. Grew up on an estate on the Wirral, which is not far from Liverpool. It's quite a lot of poverty, crime, stuff like that. Come from quite a big family, a lot of brothers and sisters. Now I've got 2 kids, and their birthdays are coming up soon. My little girl's nearly 11, and my boy's nearly 7. I work offshore as well, self-employed, so jump from job to job. I've just actually quit my job again, so I didn't have to be away for Christmas. So yeah, back on the dole for me, and wait until January and start looking for some more work. Right,
so how easy is that for you to get back into work then?
Well, to be honest, I try and look at it with an abundance mindset. So whereas I'll stress a little bit about coming out to work, but then I try and tell myself that there'll always be opportunities there for me, you know, when I'm ready to go back to work. And 9 times out of 10, it's normally all right, you know. So,
yeah.
Aye.
From the abundance mindset, I like it. So tell me a little bit, how did you two first meet? Tell us about that.
Probably hanging around the streets, to be honest.
Yeah,
Aye, that's it. The
couple of games of football or something like that, wasn't it?
The way it works on every housing estate, just hanging around the shops and things.
Yeah,
but
probably.
yeah, it's just went on from there. I think started going out, I think when we were probably 16 or 17, to the local nightclubs and stuff like that. And yeah, I think we used to drink Southern Comfort and lemonade in my bedroom at my dad's before the night out, yeah.
Sure, I lent you money.
And then Mike went in the army then, used to send me back envelopes full of sand from Iraq. and Iraqi money, which I've still got in the house somewhere. We've still got the sand as well, and a little shot glass.
So how far did you live as kids then when you were growing up? How far was your house?
Not far, less than a mile, wasn't it?
Half
Within less than a mile.
like that.
Same school? Same...
I think so, yeah. I went to Wallasey School, but we were in different years. I'm a little bit older than Mike. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about, Mike, starting with yourself. Where did it start for you, property? What made you want to get into property? What was the start of that for yourself?
It was the residual income. I was working away. I think I was working for Van Ord at the time. Yeah, Alan was actually on the job with me. We'd got a job. There was not much work about. It was a time when wind farms had picked up for a couple of years. There'd been a lot of wind farms happening. They were having, I don't know whether it was some sort of break, but for that sort of period of 12 to 18 months, there was not really much wind farm work happening. It was around, I think, October, which meant the oil and gas industry was just starting to ease off. And then we'd got talking to one of the lads we know, Adam, and he'd got us on a job for a pipeline replacement up in Grimsby, and then we were on it and we were working. I think we were working 21 days on, 3 days off, and we'd done that for 6 months. And we had a bit of extra money, and one of the lads I was working with as well, Ray, he was just looking to invest in some HMOs, and then we got chatting and he started explaining the sort of interest-only mortgages and how it works, and we went a little bit very vaguely into sort of deposits and how you can do stuff. Nothing on what I know now, but it just set the wheels turning. And then from there, at the time I was still in touch with you, and you said, well, you want to buy a house? Let's buy a house. So I bought a house with yourself, which was my second house. It was obviously had me residential. I bought that. I don't even think I've seen it. I think we just bought it. Obviously, you've seen it.
Yeah, and when was that? That was sort of
2015.
2000, yeah, it would have been. We bought it in the February of 2015.
And what? Tell the listeners what was the reason that you bought a house with myself without even viewing it? What was the reason? Why would you do that? Because there's probably people listening thinking that they would never buy a property if they'd never seen it themselves. What was the reasoning for that?
I actually used my tax money, so I knew it was sat there for a year. I thought, right, I don't need that. Taxman's all right, he likes me anyway, gives me a bit of leeway. So I thought I'll use it. I had the money. I thought I can use this money to make more money. You'd had a couple of, I don't know how many you'd done. You'd probably into easy double figures by then. How many conversions you'd done? So I thought, yeah, just go for it. I trusted you. I wasn't going to get anywhere otherwise. It was kind of, as Alan said earlier, it's just. You just go on contract to contract to contract, you're on all this money, you start living beyond your means, and then it stops, and then you're panicking to find the next contract. And I just wanted to just have that security, have that income coming in all the time, stop getting my time back.
Yeah. And I think that's a valuable thing. What is it, where did that trust come from? Because you hear stories of people going into property together, and sometimes somebody comes off worse than the other person. What was it that, why was that a reason for the trust there without you viewing the property, I guess I'm saying? So what was the sort of trust within myself? Where's that stemmed from?
It was just within your knowledge. I mean, I could have viewed the property, but it wouldn't have made any difference. I wouldn't have been walking around saying, yeah, we've got penetrating damp, we've got this, that needs replacing, we're going to have to do that. I'd never flipped the property, so I didn't know the sort of the standards which we'd have to be at. I didn't know what could have stayed and what could have went. I'd done my own home, and I knew the standards I'd want, but necessarily didn't mean the standards that other people would want looking to buy within the area, and what you'd do to make it an attractive purchase. The trust is just from, we'd known each other for, by that point then it must have been 15 years. Sometimes you just have to just jump in.
Trust your gut instinct.
Yeah, trust your gut instinct. The friendship was worth more to me than the I forget what I think it was around £10,000 that we put in. I knew where you lived, I knew your family, I knew the area. It was a small town.
And I don't want a couple of lads from Liverpool knocking on my door, right, if I've took 10 grand off them, so...
Yeah, no. There was no reason. You were doing really well. I'd been down and seen you a couple of times. I'd seen you, the house that you had at the time. It was think it was the big 5-bedroom new build. It's a lovely house. It wasn't short of 10 grand, to be honest. So.
And you took the plunge.
Yeah.
So just a question for you, Al, because you're looking to go a partnership as well now, right? You're going to set up a separate company. When's that happening? What you sort of looking at doing with
To be honest, we haven't really discussed it properly. I haven't sat down and discussed, right, this is what we need to do, this is where we want to be. We haven't actually got it. We've kind of talked about it, but I think we just need to create a proper plan, and then start going after it, basically. But it's all revolves around serviced accommodation in Liverpool and the Wirral area. So I don't know whether we're going to do city centre Liverpool or around the Wirral, and look for people who are visiting the city or contractors or something like that, basically. But the thing that attracts us to serviced accommodation is the fact that you only have to, the money that you put in to the returns that you get out of it, it's the ratios. It's quite a small investment for what the potential that you can make,
Yeah.
And I know Mike's quite busy with some other projects as well, so this was kind of like a little sideline thing for both of us, really. Yeah, so it's we haven't put a massive amount of thought into it, but it's something that we're definitely going to be pursuing. And
the demand, there's a lot of demand in your area for serviced accommodation. You've checked that out, have you? Or I'm guessing.
Yeah, well, I've put a couple of adverts on sparerooms.com just for contractors, by the local oil refinery, and I've had quite a lot of messages and interest back, just basically targeting contractors.
Yeah.
And there's another guy that we've both connected with on Facebook who's a bit of a deal sourcer, so I don't know if we're going to try and have a meeting with him and see if there's something that we can sort out between us, maybe, because there might be something that we can offer him, as well as what he can offer us, so I think that's probably be after Christmas now, but
yeah,
we want to speak to him as well, because he seems quite knowledgeable and quite well connected in that kind of, that industry.
And I always think that's important to make connections like that, just because you never know. I mean, I always think back to once when I actually went for an interview for a job, and you know the story yourselves now because you've actually met the guy, Jeremy, and he actually became one of my main financial investors, put a lot of money into properties, and we just got talking about property. And I think you never, I guess what I'm trying to say is you never know who you're speaking to and the opportunities that can come from getting out there and having meetings and things like that.
Definitely. Yeah, there was a guy on, I think you commented on something yesterday, tagged someone from a guy from Birkenhead.
That's right, yeah.
I don't know.
Did you know that guy?
No, but it'd be interesting to see what that guy's about as well, yeah.
Yeah, so what Alan's actually talking about there is somebody tagged me into a post on Facebook and saying that we should connect, me and this other guy who I don't know, and I just noticed that he was from Birkenhead, where obviously used to are from, and I thought maybe you know who he is. I'm guessing he's into property, and we'll probably find out. It's funny how these things turn out. So are you both, tell me where you are with regards, because I know, Mike, where you are, obviously, with your portfolio. So when did you first buy your properties? Alan, you're a property owner as well, yeah?
Yeah, I've just residential, which I live in myself, so I just over 3 years. I think this is my fourth Christmas that I'm spending in there now, so it was back in 2015, and I was living at my dad's. I was back at my dad's, and I was just about to go back offshore, and I had a list. I just started writing a list. What do we need to do? Buy a house was at the top of the list. So I just went out and viewed the house. The guy actually worked offshore himself. He was a welding inspector, and that was just, I just went out and bought it. So I've lived there for just over 3 years now. But other than that, that's the only house I've got at the moment.
Is it, yeah? And yourself, mate, when did you get your first...
I was just thinking then, Alan's house, how you actually bought that house when we were on the Van Ord job, wasn't you?
I think it was just after when we left the Van Ord, and when it was 2015, we were on that oil rig with little Andy in July.
In the Braves.
Yeah. So it was just after.
Yeah, My first purchase would have been March 2014. That was my own residential. And then from there it went on to 2015 when I purchased the house with yourself. And then on to February 2017 when we got
Yeah, it will have been, yeah.
the station. Obviously we've done the conversion there, and then this year I bought 2 properties in the northeast.
That's brilliant. So, just rewinding back a little bit, what was it that took you guys offshore? Because I know that within the academy, there's quite a lot we get a lot of people who work offshore. Maybe it's on good money, but it tends to be the same feedback I get all the time, that people say that the environment's not the best, being away, time away from the family. I guess a question for you is both: what is your take on that, and what was it that took you to working offshore?
I'll answer first for that. For me, initially, was within the northeast. You have a huge offshore presence. There's not as much for us. It initially started for myself when we were in the army. With the engineers that we were in, they have their own dive team. So a couple of the lads go off to do the dive training, the surface supplied. I was a gas fitter at the time. I'd been speaking to another lad we know, Ross Smith, and Ross was doing really well diving offshore. It was April, and he told me from April to August he'd earned X amount of money, and he said, well, if you don't do that, do your rope. And I'd always thought about the diving, and then I looked, and at the time, the wind farms, they were utilising the divers. There was quite a lot of work for them. There was people advertising, so I thought, right, I'm going to go off and do this. There was a dive company in Liverpool, so I thought, oh, it's not too far. I might be able to get something with that. I spoke with Ross. He said he'll probably be able to help me out. So I went across to that dive company, and at the time they was advertising for some of the positions. So they were looking for the cable pullers, and the company in Liverpool won the contract for the cable pullers. One of my friends who was working there, he managed to have a word, put my CV forward, and then they took me across to there, and I started on Quincy Moor Wind Farm. And at the time, Alan you were working Cavaliers, wasn't you, as a rigger?
Shipyard, yeah.
Which was basically the same job, but just onshore. And I said, well, the money's really good. And at the time, it was brilliant. It was our first contract. The duration of the contract was sort of 18 months to 2 years, which was fantastic. And then we worked on our first wind farm there, Quincy. We finished that, and that's where that sort of period where there wasn't a lot of wind farms were being approved further down the line, but there wasn't anything within that time frame. And then from what we've learned now is the systems and stuff that they used on Quincy that they wasn't happy enough with. So that 18-month contract, that's pretty much unheard of now. Things have got faster. Obviously, like everything, the evolution. You're lucky. We get jobs now that sort of someone will be recruiting for a job for 9-10 months time. So you'll plan, right, I've got this job, going to last 5-6 months. You'll get there, and they offered us 3 weeks, didn't they? They offered us 3 weeks on a job. You've been speaking to us for a year about, phone us up every month. Are you still ready for this job? We need you to go off and get this. We need you to get this insurance. We need you to make this, you need this party insurance. So if the helicopter is required, you've got insurance for that. And then he sends us the job, and he'd give me 2 weeks. I think you got 4 weeks, didn't you?
Yeah. Just constantly chasing.
Yeah.
Chasing the work all the time.
Good. It's shit being away from your family. The second you get on the rig or the wind farm or whatever, you fucking hate it.
Yeah.
But again, it's you are surrounded by a lot of negative people and stuff like that as well. But again, there's a lot of good lads out there as well. But it all depends on like what your what you make of it, your mindset and stuff like that as well. So the last couple of trips I've had offshore, I've connected with some interesting people, but normally I just hate it. I've got my head up my arse. I'm in a fucking mood for 2 weeks, until I
just
get home.
Waiting to get home as quickly as
just selling
possible.
your soul for money, you know what I mean? But when Mike's away, he's got a good routine. He's up, he's in the gym, training constantly. he's always connecting with his mates who were back at home and stuff like that, and I'm just the complete fucking opposite. I sit in my bedroom sulking.
You just
So, I've got a bit to learn, like.
So when did it start for you? How long have you been offshore?
About this, a little bit.
What were you doing prior to that?
I was working in power stations, shipyards, and then Mike got me a start on Glinty Moor. But we both had to go out and do a couple of offshore courses and stuff like that, a bit of training, and then we just kind of found our way into the industry. Mike stayed at the wind farms, I've kind of stayed at the oil rigs and the rope access, and that's it really, yeah. But just shit being away.
Yeah, I can imagine, and that it tends to be the same sort of feedback what all the guys say offshore. Mate, tell us a little bit about. Let's rewind back a little bit about prior to your life of offshore, where we first met in the army, because you joined the army quite young, didn't you? So tell us a little bit about your experience in the army, what you went, because I know you've done a couple of tours and stuff like that, and you can't have been very old when you sort of done them. So tell us a little bit of about your background in the military. What made you want to join the army in the first place?
I think it just always appealed to me. I'd always wanted to join the army as a kid. Watched Saving Private Ryan, and I just loved it. Watched that video of the engineers and thought I was joining the SAS. I'm dead excited. I joined when I was 17. I was 7. My birthday was in the January, and my first day of training was the 1st of April. So I was 17 in a couple of months. And I loved it. It was just like school, except people were a bit older, didn't give a fuck, and they give you guns, and it was just coming out of school into a bigger school where you got paid as well. You had money and you could drink. I loved it. From there, I actually went to Water Beach, which was a unit which I'd later spend quite a lot of time. So the way it worked for us was, well, we do our training, then you go to JIB, do your phase 2 training, then you go to a unit until your trade course arrives. And I done joinery, which fucking Mr. Jessup, which that was that.
So your trade was a joiner in the army. That's what I chose as well as part of the engineers. So you first got a Water Beach barracks. I believe that barracks is closed now in Cambridge. When did you get to Water Beach?
Well, I went there straight after phase 2 training. I spent probably 4 months there, I think, 3 or 4 months, and then my trade course started in whenever they started, January, and then I'd done the 9 months up at Chatham, and then I was stationed back at Water Beach. That's when I went back there, but then I knew I was going to be stationed there for a couple of years as a permanent post. And then from there, I done my first tour of Iraq. It was the first Optelic. I think we left for there around February. So we went off to Jordan and Qatar, I think Kuwait. And then from Kuwait we went across to Iraq. So I was there from February till I think August that year.
And how old were you when you went to Iraq?
I would have been 18 or 19, I think.
Yeah.
I would have been just turned 19.
Just turned 19, so very young. What was that experience like for people who have not been in the military and obviously don't know what that's like? What's it like going out to a place like Iraq, especially at that young? So I'm guessing you were one of the youngest in the troop, right?
Yeah, it was just different. Obviously, you go out there, there's a massive amount of poverty, but we just didn't take anything that serious. We're more concerned with getting out running and getting in the gyms and getting welfare packages sent and getting pen pals. I think I'm back now. It was a bit all over, but at the time I'd not really experienced anything different. I just took each day as it come, really.
Yeah, and was that the first tour you done? Was it
that was the first tour I'd done.
So the very first tour that you done, you're getting told that you're going out to Iraq. I mean, I was brought into it a little bit smoother than that. I went to Saudi Arabia, but it was quite relaxed. We had a swimming pool and we actually had facilities and stuff like that. So I was kind of broken into it before I was shot into operational tours. Did you do any other tours? Was it?
Yeah, I'd done a couple of stints in Oman. And I went back to Kuwait for some air support. And then, because of the job that I had on the camp, I was given regimental duties and didn't do the Afghan that year. I stayed for the PT. And I was assigned over to the gym. You might even been a lifeguard.
So tell us about that. So you signed up as what Mike means there is you actually signed up as a physical training instructor, a PTI in the army. And how old when you done that?
So it would have been probably 20 by the time I got on the course. It was after we'd done optelic, so it would have been 19, come back in the August, and then I think I had my training sort of, the course was around February. So yeah, I'd have been 20 then. And from there then, I went across to the gym.
So it's very, very young, because I know that I was young doing the role as a physical training instructor, and the same. You're in the same position as me because you've done it without any rank, and
Yeah.
you're in charge of physical training lessons of people who've been in the military for 20 plus years, aren't you? So how did you find that at such a young age? Being in charge of staff sergeants, sergeant majors and senior officers, and actually taking them for physical training at such a young age?
I didn't pay that much attention to it. You're just more concerned with delivering your lesson and that it's right. Obviously, everyone in the army anyway, they've got the army mentality. They don't question you, they don't ask, they just do as they're told. So it was just a case of more ensuring everyone enjoyed the lesson and that it was a good lesson. That people finished it and they said, you know what, yeah, that was good, when you're asking for feedback, or we could have done this, or we could have went longer, or we could have put this exercise, or you done that for too long, or it got a bit boring, you done that last week. I knew that we had the responsibility when you were in that lesson that sort of what you said went, but at the time it never really occurred to me. I was just concentrating on doing the best I could during the lesson and then get the feedback later and see how it went.
Yeah, it's a good approach, because I know that certainly when I went into that role in the gym, I struggled with it, and I found it difficult with leading people when you've not done that. And for the first time, I actually found it really daunting, and I always remember I think I was shot in the deep end a little bit though, because I had an annual fitness test to run, and we had all the senior ranks on there. We had the OC, so the officer commanding of our squadron, and I actually remember him going up to our boss, as you know well at the time, Kev Mason, and actually saying to Kev that is the worst lesson that I've ever been on, and for me to go into a position like that, I was just newly qualified, and to take a physical training session and to be told by an officer of that rank that was the worst lesson that he'd ever been on, it was difficult for me to take, and I think that one thing that I learned from our time underneath Kev was how to be a good leader. And I always remember Kev saying to that officer saying that's his very first lesson, give the lad a break. And me kind of expecting a bollocking from that, from not delivering very well. And Kev just saying to me, look, if you're still delivering lessons like that in 3 months' time, then we'll be having a different conversation. But right now, I just want you to go out there and just keep doing your thing. And with a few weeks, you won't even be thinking about some of that stuff. It'll just start to flow naturally. And certainly for me, throughout my life and all the leadership that I've had and all the operational tours, Kev Mason for me was definitely one of the greatest leaders that I've had, and I think he had quite a big impact on yourself as well, didn't he?
Yeah, and Kev was brilliant. He was a great boss. Just constantly supported us, just throughout everything we done. I remember sometimes people would say the lads are too big, or they're too this, or they're spending too much time, or they're never off the sunbeds, and they just always tell them, look, you know what I mean, you're not, they're good at the job, no one's beating them at running, no one's beating them at this, so until there's a problem, until they fail, and they can't do their job, then worry about your soldiers.
Yeah.
He was always, unless you got baseline.
Tell us about baselines. It's quite funny you've brought that up, because something that still haunts me to today, I think. So, and something that I actually used as a punishment myself, because it was that difficult to take. I actually used that as a punishment to punish other lads in the army later on after that I'd had that punishment myself. So tell us a little bit about baseline. What is it?
A baseline, if you can imagine, I'm sure everyone's been to sort of a local recreation hall, and you've got tennis courts marked out, you've got badminton courts marked out, you've got netball court, you've got every court you can imagine, and they're all different coloured, and there's all sorts of different lines going across it. So you've got white, green, blue, whatever it will be. The baseline is basically you you had an exercise to do. You'd do that exercise, then you'd get up, then you'd go out to the first line, then you'd come back, then you'd go to the second line, which is probably 4 mil behind it. You'd come back, you'd do the exercise, you'd go to the third line, which was an inch behind that one, you'd come back, and the exercise would keep changing, and the lines would just keep coming, and it didn't matter how fit you was, you'd pick a muscle group and you'd just do it till it was absolutely on fire, and then you'd just pick another muscle group, and it'd just keep going. And that was how, every now and then we needed to be disciplined. We got a bit carried away with ourselves, and that was the tool for doing it. Or sometimes it was just because it was a Wednesday, or was it Thursday? I don't know. Sometimes we didn't want to go out. You'd get a baseline, and then you'd want to go out. So, no, they were good, but they were very, very difficult.
Yeah, I remember that, and we were. I mean, I know you sort of yourself, me, Rob Elton, the other guys. We were the fittest guys on the camp. Clearly, we had pride in what we'd done. We always wanted to be the first in the runs, and that's why we were picked out to go and do a arduous training course like that. And I don't think it ever matters how fit you are. When you experience that baseline, especially the leg overload part of it, it's 10, 15 minutes you are literally just buckling and falling on the floor. And I know we've both done very difficult things in the military, but for a short, sharp, powerful, intense session, I don't think anything comes close to being able to inflict as much punishment as what a baseline does. Would you agree with that?
It just makes me laugh because it just doesn't matter. You'll be doing exercises, and then there'll be an exercise that you kind of struggle a little bit with, and that's the worst thing you can do. You may as well just add 3 zeros to the end of that number. Just do 900 burpees and then start squatting.
And I always remember the first time, like I say there, where we probably got out of line a little bit, and we had Craig on one of the previous podcasts. And Craig was talking about actually throwing me out of pubs, so me coming home from the army being a bit boisterous and things like that, and him having to throw me out of pubs. And I guess that's just one part of growing up, and the fact that we were in the military, we were a bit boisterous. And I always remember that first time when Kev came in, and he did used to always have our back. He always protected us, like you're saying, him kind of saying, right, you've overstepped the line a little bit. You've got 20 minutes, get your PT kit on, and be on the gym floor, and us not really knowing what was going to happen. And we knew we'd pissed him off that day, because you could just tell by his face, and him explaining to us that I'm now about to introduce you to a baseline. And after that, I remember thinking I'm never fucking up again after that punishment. But I mean, we probably got 2-3 of those. I think I experienced at least 2, maybe 3 of them during my time with Kev as a leader.
Yeah, we got a couple. 2-3 harsh ones, and I think we had a few every now and then just to make sure our fitness was up to standard. He had somewhere in his head where he wanted us to be, a benchmark, and he ensured we got there.
No, he was a great guy. And Al, I know yourself. I know you didn't go in the military, did you?
No, I was in the Army Cadets, so if that
Army Cadets for you, yeah. But you've got a fitness background, haven't you? You're big in sort of keeping fit, and certainly on the mental side of things, you're big on personal growth, aren't you? Tell us a little bit about your personal growth. What made you get into personal growth? Why are you so big on that?
Someone asked me this the other day. It was a lad that I was working offshore with. I don't know. It was just, I think I ended up back at my dad's. Fuck all. Just in a little bedroom with my dad's, you know. And I just started thinking, you know, and I thought, it's got to be something more.
It's got to be more to life than this.
And then I started working offshore, and then I started earning money, started saving. And I had a lot of money in the bank, and I said to my mum one day, I was like, it's not money, it's something else, like, you know, it's not money, it'd never make you happy, you know. And I started reading books then. I started reading Eckhart Tolle and kind of spiritual books, and people, you know, who write all the, you know, the success books and stuff like that. So it was kind of just following on from the Eckhart Tolle books, I just got interested in reading. You know,
What made you first pick up a personal growth book? Well, what like why not any other book on something else? What was it that drove you towards
maybe it was just some videos I come across on YouTube. I think it might have been like Eckhart Tolle talking on a couple of YouTube videos, and then I went out and bought his book, and then that was it. Then I was kind of hooked, and I think that was about 4 years ago now, and I've kind of just been exploring, you know, the personal development from them basically, yeah. But kind of dipping my toe in and out of it, you know. I'm not at my Kindle is just full of books.
Is it? Yeah.
And then I'll get like 60% into the book, go on Amazon and start looking at something else, and ooh, that looks good. I'll get that one.
Yeah.
Start reading that, get 40% into that one, and buy another one, and I've got so much and so many unfinished books. I need to get around to reading them all. But yeah, it's just interesting. Yeah.
How does it make you feel? What does it do for you personally?
To be honest, I think I'm reading all these books to try and get a spark or sort of kick up the ass or something like that, you know. That's definitely what it's for. I'm really into David Goggins at the moment. I don't know if you ever heard
No, I've not heard of him.
David Goggins is a Navy SEAL.
Right.
And he's just brought out a book. It's kind of a motivation book, yeah. So I'm reading that at the moment, yeah. But he's a machine.
Is he? Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. So if anyone's listening who needs to kick up the arse, go and buy David Goggins' new book. It's brilliant.
Yeah. Dan Pena, I think it was it was one of your good mates, Ray, that first mentioned Dan Pena to me, and somebody that yeah, he's a very acquired taste. Somebody I've got a lot of respect for, but again, somebody definitely worth having a look.
He's a little bit like that with his language. He doesn't beat around the bush or anything like that. He's always swearing. You know, he's just straight to the point, and I think you'll enjoy listening to some of his stuff. No,
I'll have to have a look at that because like for myself, and I've spoke about this a lot, is personal growth is a massive part of my life, and although I'm very passionate about property, impacting people's lives on the personal growth part, that's where my real passion lies. For me, that stemmed back to 2006, and the first book that I ever read was Jack Canfield. I don't know if you've ever read any of Success Principles. That's right.
50% through that one.
Have you 50% through that one? Yeah. I think one of his principles is finish something you start, is it not? Maybe you haven't got to that part yet.
No.
Okay, I want to delve into a couple of questions. Mike, tell me a little bit about. So you attended the elite training with myself, but we'd already gone into business at that point, had we not? We'd certainly bought at least one property, hadn't we? Had we bought the commercial or residential? So what was it that made you? We're partners at this. Correct me if I'm wrong. We're partners at this point. We've gone into this large project. What was it that made you want to attend property training, especially when you were a business partner of mine? What was it that made you want to do that?
I'd just been around, obviously with yourself. I'd seen how you dealt with problems. Prior to that, though, I'd seen the results you'd got, sort of 2015 to 2018, and I'd asked you a couple of times, like, how's this happened? And you said, it's my journal, and I'd got the journal, and I was trying to journal, but I'd not sat down with you and gone through the way you structure it, because it takes a lot of time. We got over it, and I tried, and I'd implemented parts of it. I'd copied bits and I took out pieces here and there and put them in, but I didn't have the full package. I didn't have the whole package from the way you structure your day, what you do, why you do this, how you overcome your problems, the processes that you use, because something had happened when we'd be there and I'd be like, fuck, this is the end of the world. And I'd look and I'd say to you, and you wouldn't even sometimes look around, you'd just be like, oh yeah. And I'd think, fucking hell, how can you deal with it like that? It's like, you just done this, or that's just happened, or you just fell down a marrow. Like, oh, all right. And I just thought, right, I need to I was getting bits and bobs, just like, I mean, if I'd have asked you, you'd just sit down and told me, but I wanted to be there, I wanted to be a part of what you were delivering, how you delivered it. I'd seen you put hours and hours and thousands of hours into the content, into making sure it was delivered right, and I wanted to be on the end of that. I picked up bits and bobs going forward, but I wanted the full package. I wanted, right, this is how we do this is why I do this is how, this is where we come. I just wanted the full hit.
Because you were kind of dragged along in a bit of a whirlwind, weren't you, when I think back at it? Because I'd obviously been, my first investment property was 2006, so I'd had 11 years of investing, HMOs, flats, flipping properties and things like that, and you kind of went from your own house straight into a residential that we done, and then which we flipped. I think we made about 20 grand's worth of profit on that, didn't we, in quite a short period of time. And then it was kind of balls in, wasn't it? It was like full into a massive commercial, a residential project for yourself.
Yeah, I obviously had massive trust in you, and then I mean, something I spoke with Alan about a couple of times. Every single time I went to a new job, or I went to this, or we'd done that, without us realising at the time, but we'd stopped being a gas fitter to just go offshore. And then sometimes even when you're offshore, you get comfortable on this platform, and then you've got to go to this one, and it's just that feeling of uncertainty of the unknown when I get there. And I just kind of accepted that unless I start making changes, things aren't going to change. I mean, I had massive trust in you. I'd seen everything you'd done, worked out, I knew what you were doing, but I'd sat back and I thought, absolute worst case scenario, something happens. But the nature of the work that I'm in, I might not get a job next year anyway. The oil prices might crash again, and that's the industry done anyway. So unless I make the most of these opportunities, I'm never going to change.
Yeah, and just really, as I would say, grabbing life by the balls and taking responsibility, which I think you both do extremely well. You've made opportunities from things from an area of maybe, it's like you've said, not a lot of opportunities growing up. Certainly that's what I was brought up. A council house, and I'm guessing, was it similar sort of thing for yourselves? Council house estate, and not a lot going on, not a lot of opportunities. As children, what was it? What would you say is the biggest thing that? A question for both of you here. You're in that environment, and I'm a big believer we become a product of our environment. What was it that made you break from that and not become part of that? What was it that made you step away from that? Alan, yourself first. What was it?
It was, well, to be honest, being mates with Mike, was a massive factor for me, definitely. I mean, I always had family who've done well, and they kind of have always kind of been offshore and stuff like that, but it wasn't any help off them that got me where I am today. It was definitely off Mike, so that was the big factor for me. It was just your friends, basically, yeah. Again, which is your environment, isn't it?
Yeah.
People that you surround yourself with. So, and that's playing out in not only that offshore side, but obviously introducing me to you and Elite and all the other property stuff. That's all come from Mike as well. So
you got a lot. You owe him a few beers then. So Mike, tell me then, what was it? So Al's giving you a lot of praise there. What was it that made you then break from that area? Why did you not get sucked back into to that environment that you were in?
As Alan said before, I got to the point where, I mean, we've all been there. You have a little bit of money in the bank, you think, oh, this is brilliant. You get a bit more money in the bank, you think, oh, if I only had that much more money, if I get to 20 grand, that's me safe, then I've got my bills paid for 19 and a half months, 3 hours, 6 days, whatever. And I kept getting to that, and I found, became points where I had quite a bit of money in the bank, and I thought, I'm all right here for work. If I lose my job now for a year, I can pay a year's worth of bills, and that's how I used to look at my money. I've got enough money to survive each time for 18 months to 2 years, and I just thought, this is all I'm constantly doing. So even if I've got, let's just say £20,000 in the bank, and I just lose my job tomorrow, it's not going to be like, oh, I've got 18 months worth of grace, I'm back to thinking, I need a job, I need a job, I need a job, I don't want to spend money. And when I was on that Van Old job, I'd spoke with you, like we speak a couple of times a month for it, but I was with Ray, and he'd just started his property journey, he was moving forward, he was massive into the books, into the reading, into personal growth.
Napoleon Hill.
So Ray's a guy. Did you go to school with
No.
Ray? How did you first?
I met Ray. He's a commercial diver as well, just through the company we were with, and Ray had his plan, and I'd never sort of really sat down with him. But on that job, we were doing 21 days on, 3 days off. We were doing 12-hour shifts, and I was on nights with Ray, and we just talk. And we do our job. Sometimes we were filling sandbags, the same repetitive job. A forklift would come in, we'd scoop a 1 ton sandbag on it. The digger would come in, drop sand in, forklift would take it away, and we'd put the next sandbag on. And we were there for sometimes 12, 14 hours, depending on the tide. And he just sat down with me and he said, this is what I'm going to do. Ray at the time had worked for a couple of years and he'd built himself up an amount of money. And I thought, for him to be able to do that, because most people who we work with used to get the money and they'd go off and buy a Range Rover or something to say, yeah, look how well I'm doing. Ray had always saved his money. He was driving at the time. This was 2014, 2015. He had a T-Reg Astra. It was a banger, an absolute. Going up to the job, I think you had to get a jump start. It was a machine anyway. He'd go up there and he could have bought any car he wanted. He had a lot of money in the bank, but he had his plan that he'd been working towards, and I thought that, he's disciplined, and he got that from the books, and then we'd be there, and he'd sat down with me and he said, right, this is what I'm going to do, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to use this, I'm going to do that, and I thought, wow. And then I thought, you don't need that many of them to start replacing this income. And someone said it to me not so long ago, like, how much money do you want? And I said, it's not about the money, because if you had £1 million now and you give it to someone, you know what your outgoings are, and you know exactly that you've got 26 years, 14 months spending what you spend now till that money runs out. You're just worrying about it. You just need that cash flow coming in.
Yeah.
And then Ray put me onto a book, Think and Grow Rich. And then from there, and that completely changed the way I looked at things before. But if I don't do that, and if I do this, I can have that. But that's that forever then. And I can start upping my standard of life. So from there, from speaking with Ray and from spending all that time around him, as you say, I was a product of the environment, but it just took that one person to change it. And now I see that the more people you surround yourself with of a similar mindset, you lift up a lot quicker. And that's when, we bought the house, and then the journey began there.
Yeah, and I think you've there's some very, very important points there in what you're saying. I mean, surrounding yourself by around the right people is massive, and I put a lot of my success down to that. Becoming a product of your environment, and also something you said about Ray, who obviously you introduced me to Ray, very inspirational guy, massive action taker, but the way that delayed gratification, something that, as you know, what I done in my life, the first car that I had, the diesel dog, which was a D-Reg, it was a D-Reg Ford. I paid £200 for that. I wrote that off on the year one. I think I was about 26-year-old or something like that. And then after that, I had the Purple Lizard, which was an L-Reg Purple Corsa, which I bought from the auction. And we were in the army at the time.
Come up not so long ago, didn't it?
And I think that was the Seat, actually. But I didn't have to have that car. I could have had a car that was a lot better. My mates were driving around in nice Golfs and things like that. And I had a £170 car from the auction, but I knew where I was going. I had a clear plan, and obviously today people see me driving around the I8 and people are like, wow, what's that, £115,000 car? But it came from me making them sacrifices, exactly like what you've said with Ray, that I personally think that a big part to success is knowing what you want, but holding off and using that money, exactly like you said, to create a reoccurring income that constantly flows each year, so you can have the houses and the cars, and the money doesn't just run out. That £1 million, as you quite rightly said, doesn't just run out. there's money there that just reoccurs year on year. And that for me is what I love about property investment. I think that's Warren Buffett says, doesn't he, if you don't learn a way out to make money while you sleep, you'll work till you die. And I'm a big believer in that. So some very powerful things in there. Tell me a little bit, how big's your portfolio now, Mike? Tell us exactly what the size of your portfolio is since February last year.
Since February last year, value-wise, it would be up at probably 800,000.
So 800,000, and that's in what? 22 months? 22 months?
22 months.
22 months, so you've built a portfolio up from scratch to 800 and...
It'll be about 800,000.
800,000.
Yeah.
And what's the income off that?
I'm looking at around... last month, so it would have been... just add them two together. 2,100.
2,100 what, a month?
A month.
Okay, so what's that? 24, just short of 25 grand a year or something?
Yeah.
Like that, which is not far off the UK average income. I think the UK average income is around about £27,000. So brilliant that you've done that. I think the amazing thing here as well is, not only have you done this commercial or residential, you've built up this portfolio, you've built up an income of nearly £25,000 in that period of time, but you've also took a different route as well with regards to mortgages. Tell me a little bit about that. What exactly have you done? What have you qualified, and what can you offer other people? Because I know you've been a massive player with helping people within the Property Investment Academy with this side of things.
So yeah, I've recently, well, I think we had a chat, it was around June time, say June the 21st, we were talking about potential opportunities and stuff, and then by June the 22nd I'd booked a course which started the following Monday, and I think it was 3 or 4 days, so I was completely out of my comfort zone again. There's me, 16 stone, head to toe and tattoos, in a room full of people who were doing a mortgage course. I was looking around, he's an estate agent, she's an estate agent, she works in second charges, she does this, he's an insurance broker, he's there, I was a square peg, just sat there. I looked like I was security, sat in my chair, and I got round, and then he's like, what do you work as? I was like, I work offshore. I was the only one in the room, no finance background, nothing whatsoever. And from there, I'd done a week fast track course, and I think it's 4 or 5 hours of exams. Then I went back to work for 2 weeks, and then I came back, and I think again I was away Monday to Friday for another course, which was the CMAP 2 and 3, and another couple of hours of exams, which I had to book separate. And then I was back away again for 2 weeks. At the time I was doing 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, so I kind of missed a bit of family time, and managed to schedule everything so that it fell. I had to travel a bit, but it fell within the time frame when I was off work. So now I'm working for the Sesame network. I work with David Dunn for Eden Mortgages. We're doing residentials, we're doing bridging, we're doing bridge to let, we're doing initial first buys, help to buy, just all aspects really of mainly the residential finance to start with now, and then hopes in the future to sort of branch out like we've discussed. So yeah, this is probably, well, this will be my last trip, and then from there.
So this is your last trip offshore, and then you're completely
just tying up this contract. Yeah, just because I'd committed to it, and that's me. Then I'm going to move across to the finance sector.
And I know you've been helping a lot of people with the finance. Why do you think you've transitioned into that so well? What is it that's made you pick that up as quickly as you can, And I know that there's a lot of people, people like Jay Ritchie and things like that, have said that you've saved them a fortune by being able to look at deals, how to structure them. Tell me a little bit about that. Why have you been able to transition into something completely different?
Because I've been both ends of the spectrum. I've been here arranging the finance, but I've also been at the other side of the finance. I know what it's like when you've got builders expecting payments on certain dates. So you need things to land, you need things to go through smoothly. You need to know just all aspects of it. You want to know that if I'm not just getting you the best product, I'm getting the best product to suit you. You might pay a little bit more, but that product works better for you. I know you want to be refinancing in 6 months and pulling the money back out. I know that you want to go beyond a free property portfolio. We'll sit down, we'll chat, you'll tell me where you want to be, what you want to get out of the property, and then I'll structure what you need based around that. So I might say, well, we're looking at this company because even though at the minute we're paying a little bit more, it's an extra 20 quid a month, we can drop £2 million worth of property into a portfolio with this company, and once we're up and running with them, it's going to be a lot easier. Or if we use this company, if we do decide further down the line that we want a bridge, they've got all your details, you know where that's come from, we can look at that. Quite popular at the minute is the bridge to let products. We'll look at using this company, we'll build a relationship with them.
So what's a bridge to let? Just tell me, so I am aware of what that is, but just tell the listeners, what is a bridge to let product?
A bridge to let product is something I've actually just used myself. So what it was I had an unencumbered property, so I owned that outright, and I wanted to purchase another property. I had some funds tied up, so I bridged the first property, used that as security to generate the money to allow me to purchase the second property. The bridging company took control of that as the first charge. They also then told me that based upon the schedule of works I'd provided and what I was looking to do to the property to add value, the end value was going to be on that property. For me, I found that quite useful because I knew my guest out plan. I knew what they'd offer. So sometimes people come to me and they say, oh, I've done my figures here, I can get 80% loan to value, and then when we've ran it, depending on how they've structured the company or where the deposits come back or how much they earn, they only may be able to release 75%, so that 5% sometimes can throw them. So here I've got, providing I do what I say, so I'll take the house, for example, new carpets, new doors, just a general refurb, full central heating system, bring her up to spec. They valued that at 65,000. So I knew from my purchase price and my refurb price and my end valuation of 65,000 how much I could pull out and what products would be available to me. It would give me the exit strategy, which is important.
Yeah, and I think that I personally think the reason why it's helped you so well is the fact that you do understand strategy. The fact that you're an investor yourself. You are exactly like you said, that you can go to some brokers and they think they're doing you the best job by getting you the cheapest possible product, but actually in fact they're not. If you've got somebody like yourself who understands strategy, sometimes it might be better off to pay for a slightly higher product because you can get them the money out quicker and actually flip things on at a quicker rate. So sometimes it can be counterproductive actually going for the cheapest sort of product. Would you agree? I mean, that's what I sort of think. It's the fact that you have that background, and you're very quick with figures and things anyway. And another thing that I wanted to touch on there is you actually won an award, didn't you, this year? What was that? Tell us about that award. What exactly was that?
Oh yeah, I won at the awards night at the Property Investment Academy, the Most Creative Deal Award. So that was a great achievement. I wasn't expecting. That was for a deferred payment structure that we come up with when we.
So tell us about that. So you've won this award. You've only just gone into finance. You've won this award for structuring a deal. Tell us what that particular deal was and how you structured that, because this is a deal that was worth well over £600,000 that you didn't put any of your own money into this deal. So tell us how you structured that actual deal.
The deal ended up upon completion with a GDV around 630,000. So we initially purchased we agreed the price on deferred consideration with the vendor selling, which we sourced actually through what's the word I'm looking for? It wasn't on Rightmove, so we sourced the deal
Through land registry.
We actually used land registry on that one, yeah. We paid the charge, we found out who'd owned the building. We then got in contact with the secretary. We told them that we were interested in it. We arranged a meeting. We went to the pub as it was then. We took our broker with us to show how serious we was and to talk about some possible finance routes. We agreed a price, which was 150,000, and then we sat down with our broker, a local coffee shop, the two vendors, and we discussed possible payment terms, which we actually finished up with an initial payment of £100,000 and then a £50,000 payment upon completion once we've done the refinance.
Brilliant. And then you excuse me, this annoying cough. You structured that in a way where you used bridging finance or something like that, I'm guessing. So
yeah, once we'd agreed it with them, transferred them the 100,000, we then bridged the property, withdrew some money down on it, carried out the works with the funds. Once the works were completed and we were at the end, we then put it onto a mortgage, flipped it out, and cleared everyone.
Brilliant. Okay, we're coming to an end of our time there. So just tell us a little bit, Alan. I've got something I want to ask you before we finish. But Mike, just first of all, how can somebody find you? So somebody's listening right now. That maybe need help. That they've got a strategy. They've seen a property that they like. How can they get in touch with you? And how can you help them with their finance situation?
Will there be links, will there? I'll just put a couple of links.
Yeah, we can put a link at the bottom of this, so we can have a direct link to yourself with a contact number and stuff like that.
Put the website up and stuff for who I'm working for. But yeah, I'm happy to help anyone if there's any questions regarding your own circumstances, if you're unsure whether you're eligible for a remortgage, any affordability, any sort of just any general issues that you may have had. You may have inherited the property, you may be struggling to get rid of the property. Not only can I potentially advise you on a financial situation, I can also give you some options which may assist with the property, whether it's from a selling perspective or a deal perspective, or, as I say, rent to rent, whatever deferred consideration, and I'll probably be able to help that way. So any way I can help, yeah, just feel free to get in touch.
No, that's brilliant. Alan, one last one for yourself.
Yeah.
I know I've got my own book that's about to come out, and you were one of the people who volunteered to read that book and give feedback to me.
Yeah.
And you actually picked its title, didn't you? So what was the reason for you picking that title? And we did actually go with that. What was your reason for you picking that? And
it just felt right, to be honest. It just popped into my mind. I sent it over to you, and I think you agreed with me on it and said that you'd have the same idea, wasn't it, with that? So yeah, it just kind of came to me, you know. Didn't pick it for any particular reason. Other than the fact that it popped into my head and I liked the sound of it, yeah.
And there was a couple of other people who actually picked the same title, didn't there? Which was, I think, Glenn.
Was it Glenn, wasn't it? Yeah.
And a couple of other people, so that will be out soon. The book will be out, Safe as Houses, my first book, and hopefully following next year will be the mindset book, Discipline. So guys, I'm going to wrap it up there. I'm going to ask you both one last question before we go. So anybody listening now who's maybe thinking about property investment, maybe they've got a couple of properties, they want to scale that up, maybe they want to go into commercial or residential, it could just be general sort of mindset, having that mindset to take action. You're both massive action takers. Give me a nugget each. Give me some words of wisdom each. Alan, I'm going to start with yourself. So give somebody, any of the listeners out there now, what words of wisdom would you give them towards success or development or whatever comes to the surface?
Get yourself a mentor. Definitely, yeah. One who walks the walk as well as talk to talk, because there's people out there who talk like they're doing, that they've been through it all and stuff like that, but they've done fuck all basically, yeah. So there's a lot of frauds. So if you're gonna pick a mentor, you want to pick someone who knows what they're fucking doing basically, yeah. So and yeah, you need to have like the good mindset, that discipline model which you teach on your courses is brilliant. There's a lot of different models that you pick up in all sorts of personal development books, but the discipline model's probably one of the best I've ever came across. So
thank you. It's a great compliment, especially with someone who is into personal growth as much as yourself. So great points there, and I definitely second that. The getting a coach, mentor is massive, and that mindset side of things. So brilliant, Mike. What would you give us some words of wisdom? What would you share with anybody who's in that situation, maybe is thinking about developing or early stages?
Just stop overthinking and just do it. Whether it means turn up for an event, stop worrying about the petrol, stop worrying about this, just turn up and do it. Even if it's just a phone call, just make it happen. Just start the ball rolling. You want to get in contact with any of us, just speak to us, ask us, and at the end of that conversation, if you decide it's not for you, then that's fine. But just do it. Just pick up the phone or get in the car and just drive it. What have you got to lose? Change your life.
Yeah, so taking action, and I agree with you, and certainly something to second on that. The community that we've built within the Property Investment Academy. I mean, I'm learning from you guys now. There's that much information coming in that the group has got so powerful that I'm actually learning. It's no longer me, the one that's teaching. There's that much information coming in because you can never know everything, right? And I think that the support that we have within that group, within our own academy, it's. I mean, I might be a little bit biased here saying this, but what's your take on the academy and what we've built and the people in there?
I mean, there wasn't very many people in there when I signed. I joined, and I've just watched it grow, and there's more and more content about all different sort of things added all the time. Constantly, there's new people coming all the time as well, and it's nice to see it growing at the speed that it is. Yeah, so it's good to be involved in it, definitely. Yeah.
No, that's brilliant. And you, Mike, what would you say about the community?
Same, brilliant. And the content that's going up now, I'm seeing stuff. I'm seeing people ask questions within an hour. I'm seeing stuff that it take you a week to research, to find the answers, to speak to the people, to source people. The stuff you're getting is invaluable. It saves time, it saves money. It just speeds up your journey, makes everything 10 times quicker. But it's difficult to say without experiencing it. It's just where you want to be. Whether you're offshore, whether you're in a different country, it doesn't matter. You're there, you log in, you see what's getting said, and it just keeps you going, keeps you moving forward, keeps you on track, keeps you doing what you need to do to get where you want to be.
Brilliant. Thanks very much for that, guys, and your time from travelling, because it's I know it's not a short distance. It's what's it took you 3.5 hours to get here and back on the road. So massively appreciate that you sharing those nuggets for anybody listening there and coming and offering, like you say, your services. And just a pleasure to have you both here, so thanks very much.
Thanks for having me, no problem.
As you can see there, the guys have, like I said, they've travelled up from Liverpool. They're about now to go back. Anybody that is thinking about getting into property, maybe you have that challenge like I used to have in the early days of getting finance, then certainly have a look around this link. You'll see a connection to Mike. And as he says there, he's branching out now to doing other finance, such as bridge to let products, bridging, commercial. He's going to be able to provide for those. And a guy that I can vouch for personally, someone who is my business partner. That's the level that I trust this guy. He delivers exactly on what he says. He understands investment. So certainly look out for that around this link. If you want to make a connection with Mike, I'd strongly recommend that. Also around this link, you'll see other podcasts within the series. We've had some other great guys on previously. We've got some exciting guys coming up soon. One guy in particular who's built nearly £1 million property portfolio since doing the training in less than 4 months. He's been in a massive action taker, straight into it. He's had great results. He will be coming up soon. A guy called Paul Tinker. We've also had our male investor winner, Paul Ecklid. He'll be on one of the future podcasts. So make sure you have a look around the video. You'll see other content coming up. There's also free videos. You can join the YouTube channel and also the Facebook channel. So thank you very much for joining us today, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.